Well, hello, Brandon.
Hello there. Other Brandon. Yeah.
So, Dan's gone. He abandoned me.
Yeah.
And I have 15,000 tip-in pages that I need to sign. And so I cannot skip a week of podcasting. Otherwise, I will fall very behind.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep you company.
And so thank you. Thank you for coming to hang out.
Yeah. I'm happy to.
For those who don't know, this is Brandon Mull, the original fantasy novelist Brandon. Because when did your first book come out?
Well, 2006.
Okay, so I'm the original fantasy.
Yeah.
I beat you by a year.
By a year,
Okay.
2005. Was that Elantris?
Yep. Elantris was 2005. But we both broke in right around the same time.
It was weirdly simultaneous
Mm-hmm.
to be two Utah guys named Brandon.
And our books came out at the same time, and we immediately started getting mistaken for one another.
Yeah. That was definitely part of the fun, right?
Yeah, immediately started signing some Fablehavens when kids would come up with them. Well, I initially wouldn't. It was after I knew you that I would start signing them.
Yep. And now it's been mentioned enough that it's kind of a joke, and so you'll get jokers coming up. So like I will for sure. People who know I'm not the right Brandon, and they'll still say,
Yeah.
sign my Sanderson book because it's funny, you know.
Yep, they do that quite a bit. I think the first thing that I really remember knowing about you was that your book signings were enormous.
Yeah.
That was right out the gate for you because of the way that you guys toured and things like that, right? Like by the second or third book, you were just having these enormous book signings.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of that credit goes to my sister Summer, who I got the publisher to hire my sister to just be my person. And she designed and also credit to the publisher for financially supporting it, right?
Right.
But she designed a really good, aggressive, getting into schools, book touring, like very grassroots, lots of months on the road in a year. And but it got the word out. Like everything that a new author needs is to get the word out. So
that was the Wild West time of school visits.
Yes.
Like right after Paolini did it, kind of for the first time, as I understand, just kind of that middle grade school visit.
Yeah, it hadn't been happening a ton. And then as some of us went and did it and had good success, it became much more a norm.
Yeah. Yep. And the first signing, it was a few years before I went to one of your signings, but I went to one and it was held at a school auditorium with thousands of people and had a sketch comedy show as part of it. And you threw glow sticks at the crowd and got everyone hyped with cool music and did a signing. It was much more like a party than any book signing I'd been to. It's pretty epic. Do you still do them that way? I've shown up to a couple of them.
Yeah, we still do launch parties of that order. I used to run a comedy troupe called Divine Comedy, and I get a lot of my old comedy friends who come out and do sketches. And then sometimes some of my author friends will also come do sketches. You've done a few.
I have done a few.
And yeah, it's just fun because I really miss doing sketch comedy. That was such a fun part of my life. And so for the launch parties, I get to resurrect that little piece of my history and see old friends and write a few skits that are sort of book themed and make the launch party feel more like a party.
Sounds like an enormous headache to me.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like I used to, when I was doing Divine Comedy, that was, you had to write 6, 7, 8 skits a month.
Yeah.
And so I'm used to generating skits. It's not that hard for me. Like
right.
It's kind of like breaking out some old tools that I kind of miss. And because this, writing a book, it's the worst feedback performance art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you write the book, you get feedback a year and a half later and it trickles in. And I love doing sketch comedy because you instantly know if the joke worked or not.
Where'd the glow stick thing come from?
That's just straight from Divine Comedy.
Yeah.
So when we would do comedy shows at our college, and
I saw one back in the day.
Yeah,
back in the day.
It was like Saturday Night Live format. So not an improv troupe, like actually pre-written skits that we'd practiced, right? And between to kind of keep momentum up, you kill the skit with a goosh. Goosh is the sound of lights turning off, right? You kill it with a blackout. You have the goosh. You hit them with some loud music, something quirky and fun, and then you just chuck glow sticks at them, and it turns a bunch of college kids into maniacs.
And like, I'm still kind of not over how well that works. Those listening don't understand just how well you all timed that. Did you found Divine Comedy? Or were you in the end? You just
So I overlapped with the first generation.
Okay.
I overlapped with the founders, and certainly our guys helped it grow. You know, like the time I was in it, we grew it bigger. We took what they gave us and we built on it. But yeah, I wasn't one of the founders. Yep. But it was so like that format of glow sticks and music, that's somebody else's genius. And it really is a very simple, effective kind of genius because it really creates momentum in a crowd.
I was just thinking they do the same thing in Robot Chicken without the glow sticks, right? That fuzz.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? It's basically that. You cut, you fuzz, and then right into the next thing.
Yeah, something that's kind of like a little bridge or transition, right? Yeah, like the kind of music that worked really well was like DuckTales. You know, you start going dong 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 dong. Life is like a hurricane, and you and at least for my age, that worked really well back when I was in school, which is 20 years ago. But it would probably work good now because they revamped DuckTales. You know,
I haven't seen the new revamp.
it was decent. It was okay. I say decent. It was better than the original. It was considerably better. It was a little smarter, a little funnier.
Right,
I watched most of them with my kids.
I'm going to assume that my picture in my head of the original is not accurate to its quality. Right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like
the original was fun, but the revamp is actually like funny. Like they took a lot of the best things that DuckTales had. Like after watching the new one, actually watching the old one was a little sad because the new one was so kind of tightly written and stuff.
Just think that writing's gotten better all across the board when it comes to television.
Seemed like it, and it seemed like it was people that really loved the original and did a good job doing like a revamp. You know,
was like DuckTales the first in that? Like they did that whole Disney thing.
Afternoon.
Yeah, that then basically got copied by Warner Brothers when they made Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. And Animaniacs is like the culmination of that whole period where Animaniacs is still like legit hilarious.
Yeah, it really is.
But it was like it took multiple evolutions across different shows and different networks to get there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And DuckTales was in fact what launched Disney Afternoon.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can understand that the first time, like it was revolutionary when I watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
But I bet we wouldn't have gotten the much better things like Animaniacs and even Batman the animated series, right?
Which was so awesome. Yeah.
If they hadn't done that and kind of done an afternoon TV show.
Yeah. Well, I was a high school kid who was watching cartoons on purpose because of things like Animaniacs and Batman. And,
Yeah. So we mentioned being Brandons.
We are Brandons.
We are Brandons. Did you grow up in Utah?
I didn't. I grew up in California and Connecticut.
Yeah. When you came here, were you surprised by the number of Brandons?
Yeah, my age or younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we don't. There's not a lot of older Brandons.
Nope.
Right? Like in general, like we're at that age where it kind of got started. But my age or younger, there's like too many Brandons.
I feel like it's a Utah thing. Like names are regional.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in Nebraska and I never met another Brandon.
Oh, funny, never. Huh?
Never. And then I came to Utah and I went to college, and in my dorm there were 4 of us.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is with my name that was so unique and things suddenly, and it's just names have regional sort of whatever. And
when my mom said when she named me Brandon, she didn't know that name. Like and maybe that's probably because we were in California, right?
Yeah.
Like we weren't in Utah. But so she thought she was like being really innovative, but then there was a lot of other Brandons around my age.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that happens.
So I will say, from a random stat, trusting the internet you will, Utah has the most Brandons in the entire United States. So,
and I think anyone who has roots in Utah hears the name. Like I was born in Nebraska, right? But my parents are both from Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
Which is basically the Provo of the North.
Right.
And just kind of that LDS culture, names become a thing. Like when I named my kid Dallin, this one's more obvious, right? Where it came from. When I named my kid Dallin, I just thought it was a name, right? That people used. Anywhere we go outside of Utah, they're like, wow, what a unique original name. It's like Dylan, but different. And I'm like, oh, there's an apostle of our church called Dallin. And, you know, it's probably a Scandinavian name, and Scandinavian roots in Utah run deep. And so suddenly a name that just, I know dozens, maybe not, but I know a lot of Dallins.
Yeah, a lot of Dallins. You'll run across Dallins, but not elsewhere, huh?
Nope. They're always confused.
I know this. I know the guy, when they needed like the kind of nerdy, overinvested guy in Galaxy Quest, he was a Brandon.
Was he?
Yeah.
That guy was Brandon?
That was the name they went with. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm the nerdy, overinvested in fantasy guy or sci-fi guy.
From the movie?
From the movie Galaxy Quest, the Tim Allen
because that was written by a guy from Utah.
Oh, that's funny. Yes.
I don't know if you knew that, but yeah.
I remember it now, but so maybe that's why he went with Brandon as his nerdy, overinvested kid. Yeah.
So what have you been doing lately? How's life been?
Yeah, life's been good. Life's been so busy. It's been busy. Yeah, I'm trying to do like 2 things at once. And for me, like, see, I can't say busy to you because you generate books like a machine. But for me, it's busy because I'm doing 2 books at the same time. And I'm doing one that's like a Newland Doran book. So that's my Satyrs in Fablehaven, like letting the comic relief be the main characters. It's a bit of a shorter novel, like maybe half the length of Fablehaven.
Okay.
But written in the same voice and the same style. Fablehaven's like 89, about 90,000, and this is about 45,000 words, right?
Just it's funny to me that you're like a little bit shorter, and then you reference Fablehaven, which is shorter than my short books.
Yeah. Like this is more like true, genuine middle grade length.
Middle grade,
right?
When I wrote middle grade, they required me to be under 55. I couldn't go over 55. They wanted them at 50.
Yeah, like when I did Spirit Animals, they wanted so short, so short. It was like I can't even. I remember I had to push it up to get to like 30 or something. Like I mean, they wanted it so stinking short.
Yeah, I with the Alcatraz books at one point, like. They told me it has to be, 55 of the max. Try to keep it to 50. And I'm like, yeah. New York says we want them to be 120, and then I turn in one that's 250, and they just deal with it, right?
Right.
And I turned in one that was 60, and they're like, no, we're serious. You have to cut 50,000 words from this, and I'm like, oh, not 5,000.
5,000, yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're actually you actually care? Okay, I'll do it. But wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun to write one, because you plot it out still as a complete story.
Yeah,
and writing a complete story and having the main characters be guys who had been my comic relief.
Yeah,
was really fun because you put a satyr in danger, and he's not like scared like normal. You know what I mean? Like he can be flippant with danger, and that was a fun voice to have as a main character.
How'd you handle like the Pirates of the Caribbean problem, where like this comic relief side character becoming the main character? It's hard to emotionally invest in them sometimes, right? Like Captain Jack.
Yeah, I made it like So here's kind of what I did. In Fablehaven, one of the rules is that for the mortal characters, they don't have magic. They get the magic from the magical creatures. And there's a converse thing to that, where the magical creatures don't tend to change unless they interact with mortals. So mortals bring change, magical creatures bring magic.
Right.
And the satyrs, having interacted with our mortal characters for 10 books, their nature is frivolous, but they've started to care. And so because they've started to care, that's kind of the thematic crisis in the book for the main character at the theme level, sort of, is that he's like, we used to sleep in divots and now we need beds, and like what's happening to us? Like why are we growing up? Why are we becoming responsible? So it's sort of like an end of adolescence story for the satyr.
Oh, that's cool.
Like what happens when a satyr is reaching the end of his adolescence
after thousands of years,
and that gives it heart. Like that makes him feel like a person, and then on top of that, you take the comic relief and put him in a situation where he has to do something heroic. Like where they're, it's the kind of problem that you can invest in and go, oh yeah, you're on a heroic thing, even though this isn't normally your cup of tea. Normally your motto is let the other guy be the hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they kind of, but I got them stuck in a situation where they had to do that. And so, I mean, A, the task they had is important, and so that helps for investment. And B, like he's humanized because he's coming to the end of his adolescence. And I think that ended up working better than I thought it would. Like as I wrote it, I was like, this is one of the easiest books I've ever written. It's just
That's awesome.
It was kind of naturally funny and fun,
Where do you think this sense, because I've used it too, and I've noticed it a bunch, this idea that like magical creatures of magic don't change, and that mortals come along, like, because that's basically kind of like the last unicorn, right? There's that concept, but it's also kind of Arwen and Aragorn. I bet it goes deeper than that. Like, yes. I wonder where that like mythology, where like the actual roots of that are. I would guess I probably got it from the last unicorn, right? Like that's probably the root for me. It could be Aragorn and Arwen and stuff like that, but
I'll tell you where I get it.
Yeah,
I get it from my religious beliefs.
Oh yeah,
because I think our spirits are eternal. And I think our spirits enter mortality so that an eternal thing can change.
Okay.
And so to my mind, part of the reason a spirit would have a mortal experience is so it can experience accelerated change in a place that's temporal. Because I think in the nature of eternity is also a degree of like simultaneity or like unchangingness, right? That's my theory. And so
it's a decent theory. I mean, it kind of, it tracks with a lot of different like religious beliefs also, right? Like
like it fits enough that I think that's part of the why. So I don't know.
Interesting.
And I think enough that it's part of the why that it's very easy for me to put a framework into a story using that assumption. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the other project you're working on?
So the other thing is the opposite, is the longest book one I've ever written.
Ooh.
And so that's like a 3-book series with Random House. And it's maybe my last new series I'll do. Like the last new story world. At least it's the last new story world I have on deck. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like I've been thinking about this one for lots of years. And I've got lots of ideas how to add on to some of my other story worlds. But this one's a brand new story world. It'll be 3 books. That'll be thicker than normal for me from the get-go. And so in a way, it's like this perfect double offering, because one's the fattest middle grade you can do, kind of, and one is normal skinny middle grade, skinnier than my normal middle grade. And it's been fun. It's good. It's cool.
So it's still middle grade. How long?
It's middle grade, like in the sense that Beyonders is middle grade.
Okay, yeah, because Beyonders I feel is kind of YA.
Yeah, it kind of is, but they still shove it as middle grade.
Middle grade
because I made the character 14 and because I wrote it. You know what I mean? And so like it'll be like that. It'll be like stretching. It'll be really like kind of a bridge between YA and middle grade.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. How long is long?
Oh, like 150,000.
That is long.
Which is a long book one for me. You know what I mean?
That's enormous for that's long by like I said, like traditional epic fantasy, they ask you for 120. They expect to get 150. So 150 is not, but it's it is still pretty hefty.
Yeah, it's meatier than normal. And it's been a hard I told you that the New Dorn was very easy to write.
Yeah.
This one's been very hard to write because it's just I have lots of, if I have kind of a most epic idea with the highest ceiling, this is that, right? And so I'm trying to do that justice, and that's a pain in the butt.
So you're kind of like what's his name? Name just fled from me. You're kind of like Pulp Fiction.
Oh, Tarantino?
Tarantino. You've got a certain number of series in you, and you're like, I've hit this. This is my final. Not that your final book, but the final world that you'll build and things. It
might be, yeah. Like I mean, like I will always leave a caveat of, hey, if I come up with another cool world, we'll do another cool world. But But I've had a lot for a lot of years, and this is the last big one I have cooking. You know what I mean? And so maybe my last new world, at least certainly for a while, for sure.
I got like 30.
Yeah. 30 untouched still?
Untouched, unfinished, that I have an outline for or world building on that I will probably never be able to get to.
To get to all of them, because 30 is a lot.
30 is a lot.
But you'll get to a bunch. You're a machine for getting words written.
It's because those stories that haven't been written yet itch at me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main driving impulse behind some of the stuff is, like, I have these stories and I'm like, this will be such an amazing thing when it's written.
Yes.
If I don't get it written, it vanishes forever.
Yeah.
And that sense is a large driving force for me these days.
Makes lots of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about this and tell me your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
When you write a book,
Yeah.
you give birth to something
Mm-hmm.
that was from the realm of ideas that now becomes tangible and shareable.
Right.
And I'm like increasingly believing that there's kind of like this price to giving birth to stuff like that. A price to giving birth. And it's a price that's paid intellectually, and it's a price that's paid with work and with struggle. And like, have you thought of it in those terms? Have you thought of what's the price to give birth?
I mean, the price for me is time of my life.
Yeah.
It's opportunity cost for other things I could do. Other stories I could tell, or, time playing Elden Ring or something like this.
Yeah,
right?
time goofing around, having fun.
Right. It's not usually family time because I kind of segment those, but
Yeah.
it's if I write this book, it leaves 2 others to die that will never
Yeah,
ever be born.
Yeah, so some of it is triage,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Of what is the one that I don't want to take to my grave, right?
But yeah. But there is also like there is that work and that effort. I don't know. I enjoy that part enough that
You can enjoy it, and
Yeah.
it's still part of the price. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's guys who like to do physical exercise and they're still working. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like, for me, the price of this big thick one was a heavier price than I've paid so far.
Okay.
It took a ton of effort, a ton of work, and so you pay such a heavy price, and then you're hoping that that'll yield something that was reflects that effort. You know what I mean? That you didn't like work really hard to do something sort of good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, part of that price for me is that I have to do revisions. Like right now I'm doing revisions of the book that I got to write, last year, just on vacation for fun. It's like, this is just the book that I want to write. It'd been stewing for many, many years, and I finally got to write it.
You had a window and you took the window. And
now I need to revise it. And now it's like, I can't write anything new because I need to make sure this good book becomes a great book.
Right.
And for those listening, that's Project Atlanta, Isles of the Emberdark. The one we kickstarted or backerkitted, we crowdfunded earlier this year.
So that one, is that part of the initial crowdfunding thing you did?
Second one.
That's a second offering.
Yeah. So
okay,
we did our initial one, which was 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I snuck in one other while I was working on Stormlight 5 when I needed a break from it. This is one that, again, I had stewing for a long time that I'd actually written a few pages on. And when we did our crowdfunding campaign for our leatherbound of the second Stormlight book, we slipped this in as an add-on.
Cool.
So not 4 books this time, just 1. But
is this one long?
It's 150.
Okay, so pretty long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but about 20 of that is a novella I wrote about the character that started this, and I'm putting that in as flashbacks so that those who haven't read the novella will have access to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really
the novella exists separate, but also
and people have read it already.
Yeah,
But this is like 5 years after the novella.
Sure.
And it's kind of it's the full novel, really digging into the character and things like that. But you both kind of need the novella and kind of don't.
Yeah.
So I want to have it there. So the actual novel, I would say, is like 130. Yeah. And then the novella is 20.
Plus the 20 to round it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything you do is in your same, like, Cosmere, right? Is that true?
If it mentions Earth, it's not in the Cosmere.
Oh, and does this one mention Earth?
No.
Oh,
so this is Cosmere.
So it's Cosmere.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anything that I want to do that needs Earth for some reason, or so far these things have aligned. If the magic doesn't match Cosmere magic, or it needs Earth, then it's I do it.
You let it be separate. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. So some of your stuff is separate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one fantasy novel that's separate. It's called The Arithmetist. And it takes place on an alternate Earth. I reimagined, I'm like, what if America were a bunch of islands?
Oh,
And,
cool.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Did some gear punk stuff with it. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But alternate Earth, and so I didn't make it in the Cosmere, though it uses a very Cosmere style magic system, which is
cool.
Maybe someday I'll come up with a magic system that doesn't fit the Cosmere, and I'll do a fantasy that's not. So far, everything that I've done has been more because it mentions Earth or because it's like a sci-fi thing that the tech doesn't match how the tech is going in the Cosmere. So,
yeah, got it. Right.
Yeah,
that's cool. I've become I've been loving Stormlight, and I'm not caught up yet, but I've now done Words of Radiance.
Okay.
Last time I talked to you, I just read the first one. And with Words of Radiance, I got so amped up because I was just so happy about it. It's like just so outstanding. I'm really happy that you're writing that one because it's so outstanding.
Thanks. They are. You talk about a rough write. Those books are so hard.
Yeah. There's a high price.
Yeah, there is a high price, right?
Because you said you're taking breaks from 5.
Yeah, I took 5 is done.
Is 5 done? Yeah,
5 is done and turned in. But I took 1 break. Well, 2 breaks. It's where this book came from. But man, it is a high price.
But it's good because I'm so glad. Does 5 is that end a segment?
It ends a big segment. There's about a break in world like 10 years before we go to 6.
Oh wow. Yeah. I kind of heard that, but you would know better than than a random rumor.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really. But yeah, no, I'm really loving it. Like I remember one time we had dinner with Rothfuss. And I was so excited about Name of the Wind. Because the language is so awesome in it, and like so many things are awesome in it. But I promise you, had I read through Words of Radiance, I would have been equally excited because it's really, really good. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Mull.
Yeah. I mean, everyone listening to this podcast already knows this, so I'm kind of catching up. It's
all right. Giant 450,000 word books. Not exactly your world, at least your publishing world. There's a high price to reading one of these books because if you read a 450,000 word book, that's like 9 of your other friends' books you could have read to keep up on what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, not that it's a bad book, but, like, I think in those terms. I'm like, I have to read. I try to keep up on what my friends are doing and what my students are doing, and things like that.
There's only so much bandwidth to consume stuff, and I am a slow reader, and I live my life. For people who don't know what my life looks like, we're a blended family with 11 kids, and so that alone is like a time monster. It just munches up time, and some of those kids are adults now, but plenty aren't. And the ones that are adults are still the kind that are like boomeranging back in college age and stuff. And so like there's lots of time constraints. But even with all those time constraints, I've been reading your stuff because it's just fun, good work. And my wife took your class one time.
Oh, yeah?
Like my current wife, her name's Erlyn.
Oh, yeah. I know this.
And she's a cute blonde lady. And she took your class and because she was like back at BYU, right? And like she's my age, just so it doesn't sound like I'm robbing the cradle. You know what I mean? like, yeah. Oh, Brandon Mull married a BYU student after his first marriage. I did, but she's in her 40s. Yeah. So like, and now I got lost. Oh yeah. She took your class, and she said she took your class, and she was like, just liked you and thought it was good and thought it was fine and thought it was cool. And then she read a couple Stormlights and was like, whoa, I didn't know who I was with, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because she liked him so much too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you do with your kids? Like, what are you doing to spend time with them these days?
Yeah. So some of them we have our shows.
Okay.
I almost don't watch media unless I can do it with a kid because I just can't. Right now, I just can't afford the time.
Yeah.
And so I try to find stuff that we all like, that we both like.
What are they watching? And
so like with 2 of my boys, they were taking me through a bunch of the anime shows like Attack on Titan.
Okay.
And like Demon Slayer.
Yep.
Which I thought
wherever Oliver is, Demon Slayer is his favorite.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Is it your favorite?
I was half asleep and I heard the word demon.
Demon Slayer,
Yeah.
and he like rose from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're looking like Attack on Titan's awesome. The world building's awesome.
I've always thought
brilliant.
that world building was really cool.
Did you see that one?
I've seen the first episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the brutal one, right?
Yeah.
I guess they're probably all brutal, but the one where like, hey, welcome to this world.
Yeah.
Kick you in the face.
I couldn't believe how good
Yeah.
they sustained that world building and like the stuff that unfolded. I really liked that show a lot.
I don't have a lot of time for TV, but I thought I should see some Attack on Titan just because it world builds the same way that I world build.
You'd heard people were liking it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's very intelligently built. It's but like and then like I'm doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer with some of them because that's just fun, and they had never seen it. And then I'm doing 24 with one of the boys because that just works for him. You know what I mean? So it's just like we've got our shows, and then we've got. We do family trips. We just got back. We did like a California trip. We did like the Hiawatha Trail.
Okay.
Have you ever done the Hiawatha Trail?
Nope.
So the Hiawatha Trail this is good for anyone who's a human being to know. If you go up, you have to go way the stink up to like by Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. So it's not convenient. It's far. But on the Idaho-Montana border, there's this old railroad that they've converted into a bike path.
Okay.
And it includes like something like 6 or 7 train tunnels and like 9 trestle bridges. And so you're in this high mountains and awesome pine trees, and it's all downhill, so you don't have to be like Lance Armstrong to do it. And you ride your bike for a chunk of miles through this incredible terrain, and it was uniformly liked. Every kid liked it. I had done it once with their Lynn, just us. And then we took all the kids that were young enough to still be at home. And it was like high fives all around, even with the long drive. Because it's like almost a 10-hour drive to get there. But
well, we just got back from Hawaii. We did not do any bike riding. Well, you guys might have. They had bikes you could borrow. I sat on the beach and wrote.
Hawaii is amazing. What island were you on?
We just went to Turtle Bay up on Oahu.
Yep.
Where I normally go.
Is that your spot?
It's my spot. Just familiar with everything there. It's easiest to get to, right? You don't have to take another plane to get to another island.
Sure.
And I suppose Utah has a direct to Oahu, which is handy.
Yeah.
I bet if you're willing to if I could get to the other ones, obviously just by taking connection in.
You can do a connection and get to Kauai. I know,
think there
I do
might
that
be
sometimes.
a direct to Maui from Utah also, so I might someday have to do that. But
yeah,
just Turtle Bay is so convenient to me.
Kauai is good if you want like one of the best hikes on planet Earth, which is the Nepali coast. It's an incredible hike. It just blows your mind. You feel like Indiana Jones because it's cliff tops and jungle and waterfalls. It's like everything you would want out of a Hawaii hike or out of a jungle adventure. It's like all there.
That sounds awesome.
On that hike, yeah, that's really fun.
Yeah, the hikes in Hawaii. Like I've again only been on them in Oahu, but
yeah.
Just I like Utah hikes. Don't get me wrong, but it's a completely different thing for stuff to be green.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so jungly, right? So tropical and jungly. And Oahu, there's nothing wrong with Oahu.
Yeah.
Oahu's awesome. I've got cousins on Oahu, and I that Turtle Bay area is an area that I visit sometimes. So,
well, we're going to do 3 of these, so you guys get used to hearing from Mull, because we're going to cut for now. But we'll be back next week or maybe in 2 weeks, depending on how Donald spaces these out, where Mull and I will talk some more about various sundry and fun things.
okay. Yeah. Thanks.
How's that, Dan?